This 1997 BMW E36 M3 Coupe is finished in a Dakar yellow 2 with a black, narrow interior. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael. Welcome to the Gas and Gavel video channel. Today, we're going to take a look at this 1997 BMW E36 M3 Coupe. This particular 1997 BMW E36 M3 is finished in a Dakar yellow with a narrow black leather interior. The original MSRP of the E36 BMW M3 in 1997 was approximately $39,380. I'm currently reviewing this 1997 BMW M3 in the year 2026, and essentially the E36 M3 falls into two different type of price categories right now in 2026. And the first is the first category for the E36 M3 pricing in 2026 is what I call the collector's or investment grade E36 M3. These are very low mileage, single owners, immaculate interiors, perfect original exterior paints, no accident history, again, excellently maintained. Again, these are collector grade E36 M3s. People who buy this are the ones that treat cars like artwork, and they'll park their money into a low mileage example and hold on to it for a few years, and hopefully again, values triple or double. So the investment grade level of E36 M3 pricing in 2026 falls between essentially 40 to 60,000 and up, depending on trim, spec, and of course mileage. The lower the better. And the second category of pricing for the E36 M3 in 2026 is what I call the driver's grade pricing. And these are essentially exactly what the title says, It is essentially a driver's car. These are usually higher mileage, minor accident histories, okay taken care of, okay exteriors, okay interiors. Again, these are the cars that I don't want to be biased, but true enthusiasts buy and enjoy and actually drive, and you can add mileage to these cars and not worry about its values. And for a driver's grade version of the E36 M3 in 2026, you can have one decent version of a used one for between $10,000 to $20,000. The 1997 E36 M3 that we're reviewing today in front of us is what I categorize as a driver's car, or a driver's grade car. Again, it's pretty clean exterior, pretty clean interior for what it is. Mileage way up there. This car is a tick above 100,000 miles, and there is a history of accidents for this car. In fact, I believe the front steering wheel has been replaced with a normal non-M steering wheel. Again, this is the type of car that you buy, enjoy, you add mileage to it, and again, you don't worry about investment grade values. You just hope in the future that you don't lose your shirt, or at least you can break even when you sell it. So again, pretty clean category. And again, I feel these are the two categories that the E36 M3 falls in. It's either really expensive collector's grade M3s in the E36 form, or just again everyday driver's cars that have been driven, that maybe beat up a little bit, but it's meant to be enjoyed on the road for enthusiasts both young and old. In fact, the E36 M3 wasn't introduced to North American markets until the year 1995, a full almost 3 years after it was introduced in European markets. Why? Well, I'll share with you the story now. The E36 M3 was offered in different shapes and forms. The first is the coupe that we're going to test drive today. It was also offered in a 2-door convertible and also a 4-door sedan. The E36 M3 was introduced to the European markets in 1992, but the E36 M3 was not offered to the North American market until 1995. Why? The reasons are as follows. The first was the North American market version of the previous generation BMW M3, the E30 M3, simply just didn't do well. Financially and otherwise, it just simply didn't sell in North America. The second was a higher production cost for the North American market, and also the dreaded stricter US emission laws. These three reasons combined was the reason why the E36 M3 wasn't even considered for the North American market when it was created in 1992. BMW essentially at the birth of the E36 M3 was essentially never going to sell it in North America. But when there's a will, there is a way. The legend goes that a North American BMW car club entitled, well, really on point, the BMW Car Club of America, essentially petitioned the BMW Lords at B with a signed petition to make a version of the E36 M3 and sell it in North America. So this petition slash letter writing campaign by the BMW Car Club of America essentially caught the attention of the BMW heads, and they reconsidered their offer. So they essentially found a medium that allowed them to introduce the E36 M3 to the North American market. And the compromise that BMW essentially came down to was essentially to release what some enthusiasts considered a watered down North American version of the BMW M3. They did this primarily in order to lower the price of the E36 M3 for the North American market below or at $35,000 at the time. And one of the biggest concessions was essentially the North American market got essentially a weaker, some may consider a non-M motor or barely an M motor. So for example, the 3-liter inline 6 that was introduced in North America made 240 horsepower, whereas the European versions of the E36 M3 with a similar inline 6 motor made a whopping 286 horsepower. So again, we essentially got the E36 M3, but a more watered down version of the E36 M3 in North America. And that is a story of how America and their BMW enthusiasts got their wishes, and essentially is the reason how we ended up here today in 2026 of me reviewing this E36 M3 in Los Angeles, California, North American market. Let's take a look at the engine of this 1997 BMW M3. And here it is. This S52 motor powering this BMW E36 M3 is a inline 6-cylinder naturally aspirated motor. It puts out 240 horsepower and 236 foot-pounds of torque. The S52 motor was found in the 1996 to 1999 E36 M3 in Canada and the United States only. It has 3.2 liters. It's an inline 6 motor. All that power is routed in classic BMW M fashion to the rear wheels, and all that power can be sent to either a 5-speed manual transmission or a automatic transmission. This motor had a 0-60 time between 5.5 to 5.9 seconds, depending on transmission choice. The 5-speed manual transmission delivers an EPA-rated fuel economy of 18 city and 26 highway. Let's take a look at this engine from an enthusiast perspective. First off, I really love the classic BMW mpower ball cover. Helps designate that this is no mere BMW motor. It is in fact M-powered. The gas cap, or the oil cap, even has the M logo embroidered or embossed right onto the cap. Another very cool feature of the E36 M3 motor is essentially, if you take a look at the intake box here, the whole thing is essentially attached to this almost like ram air system that essentially sucks much needed cold air via the E36 M3's very classic kidney grills. So air gets sucked through there, all the way through that ram air intake, helping feed cool air into that inline 6 motor. Very, very nice feature. It looks great, and I'm sure it adds tons of performance and horsepower to this motor. Of course, the E36 M3 does have M-tuned specific suspension with M specific dampers and coilovers. And if you take a look at the top of these coilovers, very subtly, there is a essentially BMW Motorsport lettering etched on top of those front struts / coilovers, reminding you that this has a M-tuned suspension. So one of the greatest things about 1990s cars, specifically the E36 M3, is that it's definitely an enthusiast / driver's car. If you take a look at the motor, essentially everything that you need from fluids and so forth is essentially easily accessible, allowing you to, again, very easily work on your own vehicle. As a car enthusiast, that's great. You have access to all different types. Your oil cap is right in front. I mean, you have radiator fluid here. Everything is clearly marked. Here is your brake fluid cap, a reservoir ready to for you to add anything during again, maybe you're at the racetrack. Again, everything is just very enthusiast friendly, or again, home mechanic friendly, allowing an enthusiast to again work on the vehicle without having to rely on the dealer, like many modern M cars now in 2026. Let's begin the exterior tour of this 1997 BMW E36 M3 Coupe. And we'll start with the front bumper. All E36 M3s featured this very M-specific front bumper, which featured a much more aggressive tri-duct design with a larger center grille at the lower part of the bumper. In addition to that, your M-specific front bumper featured these integrated fog lights that are integrated very cleanly into the passenger and driver side bumper ducts of the front bumper. The larger center grille features a flat black honeycomb grille, and the bumper featured these essentially black plastic door or bumper moldings that run across the bumper. I love how they integrated a lower essentially chin spoiler that's also painted a flat black. And I think the contrast between the top molding and the bottom molding really looks great, especially on the car yellow front bumper. It really breaks up that yellow and just gives it this really race ready look. And it's great how they left the bottom chin spoiler essentially a flat black. That's great. The car is lower than the standard 3 Series model of this year, so it's great that this was left unpainted in case of steep driveways and scratches. The E36 front end also featured a much more clean and smaller front kidney grille. This front kidney grille has a chrome trim around a functional, essentially black painted vents that you'll see later essentially channels air to a ram air intake that essentially sends air directly into your inline 6-cylinder motor right through these front kidney grills. They look great and they're definitely very functional. In quintessential 1990s fashion, you do have your rectangular halogen low beams and high beams. which is very geometric shapes. You have that rectangular housing with the circular high beams and low beams. I love how the inside of the headlight is also painted a flat black, giving it a very aggressive color contrast, especially with the Dakar yellow. On US North American models of the E36 M3, you got yourself some amber side markers. And I know a lot of people do switch them out to the European version, which is a clear turn signal. In North America, it's illegal to do that. So North American versions of the E36 M3 feature this amber colored side turn signal located next to the headlights. But I think that amber contrasts really well with that yellow paint. And there's just something about amber turn signals that really screams 1990s enthusiast car. The headlights are made of plastic in North America. But a cool tidbit is that in the European market, E36 M3, both the headlights and the fog lights are made out of actually much more heavy duty and more expensive glass units compared to these plastic headlights and fog lights found in the North American market E36 M3. Very nice, very clean. And this front bumper is very quintessential E36 M3. The center of the hood features the BMW propeller logo. There is an integrated, essentially these are your windshield wiper nozzles. And there is also a few vents located behind that, essentially allowing hot air to escape from that inline six, which is very clean. Hood found in your E36 M3. Instead of boring square side mirrors, the E36 M3 features these very, very cool, very sculpted side mirrors with essentially this twin pedestal design that essentially channels air through the center, gives this E36 M3 very, very aggressive, exotic look to the side mirrors. In fact, little side note, these mirrors found in the E36 M3 with a dual pedestal and a sculpted circular side mirror were so popular that during the 1990s essentially import car scene boom, a lot of the body kit manufacturers such as VIS Racing essentially made M3 style mirrors for every other car, such as your Honda Accord, Nissan Sentra, even Toyota Camrys. Again, it started as an original design for the E36 M3, but again, it looks great here, and it was so popular that it essentially it was emulated across again an entire car culture in the 1990s. Again, very, very quintessential 1990s and E36 M3 design. These mirrors are heated and powered. And I'm sure provides some sort of aerodynamic purpose with that center air channel. This E36 M3 features a standard powered body colored sunroof The E36 M3 featured a staggered 17-inch M-specific wheel and tire package with different designs and looks. This particular example that we're going to review today features the 17-inch Style 39 BMW M wheels. This wheel design is so iconic, in fact, that here in 2026, there are high-end wheel manufacturers such as HRE Wheels that do make heritage versions, which look very, very similar to this design for, again, other cars and definitely exotic cars such as Ferraris, Lamborghinis. So not only were the side mirrors a very popular design, but these wheels were also again, a very modern classic design that's carried over not only to modern BMWs, but also to other automotive brands. These front forged wheels measure a 17 by 7.5 in the front. They are wrapped in a 255/45 17-inch tire in the front. The wheels have a silver polish finish. Again, these wheels are forged with the BMW M logo in the center, with the BMW cap propeller logo also in the center, and features essentially almost a racing mesh design with these multiple spokes. Providing not only looks but also rigidity to your E36 M3. The silver finish complements really nicely with that Dakar yellow paint. The front brake system of your E36 M3 features a single piston sliding caliper up front, and that single piston sliding caliper clamps onto a 315mm front brake rotor. Let's circle to the back. Again, these 17-inch E36 specific wheels are staggered. The rear are slightly wider, 17-inch by 8.5. The rear wheel and tires are wrapped in a 245/40 17-inch tire. You can definitely tell the rear wheels are staggered and a little bit wider, or actually significantly wider, because the rear wheel definitely has a much bigger, probably 1-inch lip, much wider than, say, the front lip here. It has that same racing mesh design. These are forged with the BMW propeller logo in the center and the M logo right next to it. In the rear, you do have that single piston sliding brake caliper that clamps onto a cross-drilled stainless steel rotor. The rear rotor measures a 312mm cross-drilled rotor. And behind that forged wheel and tire package and those sliding brake calipers is a BMW M tuned race suspension with custom dampening, coilovers, and springs that are specifically tuned for the E36 M3 model. And that is your wheel and tire package of this 1997 BMW M3 Coupe. A unique feature of the BMW E36 model of this generation, the front window rolls down like a normal vehicle, down top to bottom, whereas the rear window is essentially just a, it doesn't roll up, it doesn't roll down, but it does pop open. So essentially, if you take a look at the rear window here. There's a little tab here, and essentially if your rear seat passengers get hot, they're able to essentially pop it open, which I've done on the passenger side here. As you can see, that allows a little bit of air and gives your E36 M3 a very cool, unique feature. These type of rear vented windows were pretty popular in the 90s, and I think that they look pretty great in the E36 M3. I'm sure that without having that window motor going up and down, definitely weight savings. But again, they're able to pop open just a tad bit, allowing air into the car. I think that's a really cool, unique feature of the windows, especially the rear windows of the E36 M3. If you remember, so if you remember the E30 M3 and what came after the E36 M3, the E46 M3, the biggest defining features of the E30 M3, I feel, and the E46 M3 were essentially the M versions featured widened front fenders and rear fender arches. Unfortunately, the E36 M3 generation skipped all that. Much more subtle. You don't get any sort of wider fenders. The front and rear fenders are the same size as the standard 3 series found in the E36 generation 3 series. What you do get in its place is this very cool M3 logo integrated into that, again, that black colored side body molding. That looks really great. It really breaks up all that yellow paint. Although that black molding is found in also in the standard base 3 series of this model year, only the E36 M3 gets this M3 logo integrated into there. The front fenders do feature an amber integrated turn signal. And also, again, that side body molding painted a contrasting black. Finish off the more subtly designed E36 M3 front fenders. So the E36 M3 may not feature very cool widened front fenders of its predecessor, the E30, or its aftersuccessor, the E46 M3. You do get in the E36 M3 these very cool, very specific M3 side skirts that feature essentially a lower side profile and this what people describe as a crease or twist in the side skirt design that you would think wouldn't work, since most of this body is very boxy, and BMW essentially decided to add some curves to the side skirt here. But for some reason, these side skirts not only complemented this E36 generation very well, giving it a much more aggressive side profile and side stance, and giving it some shape to break up all those rectangles and squares of the rest of the body lines. But back to the golden years of the modified import scene, these side skirts in the M3 are so popular that there are many aftermarket body kit manufacturers, such as VIS Racing, that essentially took the same design and threw it on every other type of vehicle. So if you had a Honda Accord, you can get E36 M3 style side skirts in your Honda Accord, to your Toyota Camry, to even your Dodge Neon. Again, there are so many design features of the E36 M3 that essentially transcended and actually set trends for entire car culture, from the side mirrors and the side skirts. Again, Again, these side skirts are very specific to the BMW E36 M3. Allowing you to distinguish it from its base model. The twist. Let's take a look at the rear end of the E36 M3. So the 1997 model year of the E36 M3 features this M3 specific rear spoiler that came standard at no charge. In the 1997 E36 M3 model year, this rear spoiler essentially features also a integrated third brake light and features this essentially center notch that I'm sure provides some sort of aerodynamic benefit. Again, very subtle. It is much more aggressive than a duck-billed spoiler, but not so outlandish as a large pedestal wing. It's a nice in-between and finishes off the trunk of your E36 M3 very, very nicely, and helps distinguish it from the base model 3 series of the E36 generation. You have your silver BMW M3 emblem mounted on the top right of the trunk, classic M colors. In the center of the trunk, you have your BMW propeller emblem. Underneath that, you have your lock to lock and unlock your trunk. The North American models of the E36 M3 features these amber, clear, and red rectangular brake lights. In the European version of the E36 M3, the rear brake lights actually came in an entirely clear and red brake light. A lot of North American owners do purchase it in the aftermarket and swap them out. But in my opinion, I really love the rear amber side turn signals and brake light. Not only does it contrast really well with the car yellow paint, there's just something very nostalgic 1990s car enthusiast car scene about amber turn signals wherever they may be, whether it's in the front, the sides, or your rear brake lights, such as in this E36 M3. Just like the M specific front bumper, the rear bumper of the E36 M3 is also M specific. The E36 M3 rear bumper features a integrated rear lower diffuser, painted a flat black. It does have those black body color moldings running throughout the rear bumper. And integrated right into that lower rear diffuser is a very M specific rear single outlet exhaust that features a very cool, if you look very, very closely and very subtly, essentially they are dual circular tips that are essentially staggered. One is essentially longer than the other, and it's integrated very cleanly into that rear bumper. of your E36 M3 specific rear bumper with that really cool black painted rear diffuser. Again, all M specific parts in the rear. And we'll take a listen to that exhaust now. The rear heated window features a third integrated brake light in the center, and features a very wide opening, allowing you to easily see the rear view of your E36 M3, whether it's raining, whether it's sunny, whether it's cloudy, whether it's foggy. Here's the trunk of your 1997 BMW M3 Coupe. The trunk space measures exactly 14.3 cubic feet. It is pretty roomy. It is lined in a very nice soft touch felt. There is a BMW branded cargo net. Here is that 6-disc CD changer that I was telling you about, all nestled in its own pouch. And also, the last note, the rear seats do fold down, allowing you a lot more trunk space for longer items. Here's the trunk of your 1997 BMW M3 Coupe. Let's take a look at the interior of this 1997 BMW E36 M3. And we'll start with the driver side door panel. This interior of this E36 M3 that we're test driving today features a Nappa black leather interior. You can see that black Nappa leather wrapped throughout the door panel. There's a nice cross stitch of that black Nappa leather across the armrest. Just like the exterior, the door panel is very subtly and simply designed with function over everything. There is a very simple plastic door handle. You have your side mirror controls. You have your Hamon Cardone stereo system. I believe these are part of the tweeters. Integrated very cleanly into the door panel. Looks great, sounds great. At the bottom of the driver's side door, you do have additional storage pockets that are nicely integrated to allow you to store small little knickknacks. Again, just very, very straightforward and simple design. circling on the door sill. You do have M3 specific door sills with the M3 logo integrated into the door sills. Here are your pedals and clutch and brake to your 5-speed manual transmission in your E36 M3. The M3 also comes with these very nifty M3 embroidered floor mats to help protect your interior carpeting. And here are your BMW M seats in your E36 M3. These seats are specific to the M3 model. This particular example that we're test driving today is finished in a black nappa leather with matching black cross stitch. The seats also feature a very nifty, subtle integrated M3 logo colors stitched right into the seat on both passenger and driver. These M specific seats are aggressively bolstered with side bolsters that are pretty high, and also lumbar bolsters that are pretty aggressive to hold you in your seat. The seats are multi-way adjustable using these knobs here, but there is no power when it comes to these seats. These seats are completely manual, which is unfortunate if you're looking for luxury, but it's great for weight savings and performance. I call these the BMW E36 M Sport seats, but the M community has coined a term for these seats, and they are called Vader seats, a la Star Wars. Apparently the top of the seat apparently looks like Darth Vader's helmet, and hence when you are online reading about the E36 M3, the seats in the E36 M3 are usually designated as Vader seats. Look on Bring a Trailer, look on Cars and Bids, any listing, they are actually just listed as Vader seats. Very interesting and very cool if you are a Star Wars fan. The side of the seats do have an additional knob here that allows you easy access for your rear seat passengers. That essentially pushes the whole seat forward, allowing your rear seat passengers to access the rear seats. Now let's jump into the cockpit of your E36 M3. And here we are. The interior of your E36 M3 is designed very driver-centric. If you look very closely at the dash setup, you can actually see that the entire center console here is essentially angled towards the driver. So again, a very driver-centric interior. A lot really reminds me of the current generation C8 Corvette or the old school 2JZ Toyota Supra. By having everything angled, it really allows the driver to again keep track of all the functions and in and out while you're piloting your E36 M3. Here is your 1997 BMW E36 M3 steering wheel. It is a 4-spoke design, wrapped in black Napa leather. And this may look like a normal E36 3 Series steering wheel, but if you look very closely on the inside of the steering wheel, especially here, you can see very clearly that the leather wrapped steering wheel is essentially cross-stitched with the using the threads and colors of the BMW M colors. Very, very nice subtle nod. Again, carrying over that theme of like subtle M-ness in your E36 M3. BMW didn't want to be just right out there. In the center, you do have your BMW logo with a center horn, integrated airbag. To the left of the steering wheel, you do have your turn signal control stalk. On the right, you have a cruise control stalk. To the left of your turn signal control stalk, in classic BMW fashion, you have your headlight control knob. Behind that, you have a little switch to essentially increase the brightness or turn down the brightness of your instrument cluster. And in a classic 90s fashion, you do have an analog instrument cluster. And this instrument cluster is very unique in the North American E36 M3 because this instrument cluster is actually very specific to this instrument cluster is a sole item that is unique to the interior of the E36 M3s built for the North American market. Though it shares its red needles and the M logo with its European counterpart, the US or North American version has a 160 mph speedometer and a unique tachometer with a graduated red line and an integrated economy meter, which is essentially what that bottom meter that says MPG is. So again, this instrument cluster is unique to the North American E36 M3 and can only be found in the North American version of the E36 M3. Let's go ahead and turn on the car and see what the gauges look like. So essentially you have a very classic analog instrument cluster with these red-orange displays and very 1990s amber lighting. Very, very refreshing to see an analog cluster that just tells you exactly what you need. Here in 2026, most newer BMWs come with like 10 different iPad screens and so forth, and it's just too much. I really love just the classic simple display. It's a very, very driver/enthusiast instrument cluster. It tells you exactly what you need in a very simplified format. That analog theme is carried over to the multimedia system. That analog theme is carried over to the multimedia system and the climate controls. To the right, here is your multimedia system from 1997. Features a very unique tape deck. Very 1980s. It also has an integrated 6-disc CD changer that's mounted in a trunk, but can be controlled from this head unit here. You also have AM/FM radio. Now, most newer cars nowadays have Apple iPod integration, or Android Auto integration, or Bluetooth. This E36 M3 for 1997 has one thing that those cars will never have, and again, that is this classic 1980s tape deck player that actually does work. The glove compartment actually contains a bunch of cassette tapes. Very, very cool. Again, all analog controls, simply very, very straightforward. You have your volume control knob, and you have your track or scanning button to scan your CDs or your radio stations. Right directly underneath that 10-speaker multimedia system is another analog climate control system. Very, very simple, very, very straightforward. I really love the ease of using this. Essentially, if you want to turn it on, there's a power button here to turn it on, turn it up. You can control the vents here. There is a dual climate control for driver's side and passenger side, so both people can be comfortable. You have AC heat, defroster, simply very, very simple and easy to use, and all analog buttons. And underneath that, you have an extension of your multimedia system, which consists of a digital clock. You can also read the external temperature, so on and so forth. Right underneath that, you have a little storage cubby here that has a small rubber integration. A great place to just charge your phone or just leave your phone in there. And that rubber integration protects your phone from damage, but it also prevents it from sliding around when you're driving around. Right underneath that, you do have a classic, essentially 9-volt slash cigarette lighter charger. I'm sure you can integrate a newer USB-C 9-volt charging or cigarette lighter port in there to charge your phones and electronics in this 1997 E36 M3. Here is your BMW M3 5-speed manual transmission. This is a M specific shift knob with the M logo integrated in the inside. It is wrapped in a black Nappa leather with a black Nappa leather shift boot with black cross stitch. Very racer-like. And to the left and right of the manual shift knob in classic BMW style are your window switch controls. Usually in other cars, they're located in the door panel, not in the BMWs. They're located usually in the center console. You also have your lock and unlock here. And right underneath that, you do have your emergency lights. Continuing further down, you do have a little ashtray here, but I'm sure you would not smoke in your collectible E36 M3. You have two cup holders for driver and passenger, and another essentially again cigarette or ashtray, but again you could probably just use this to store coins. You don't want people smoking in your E36 M3. You have again this manual leather wrapped emergency parking brake. No electronic parking brake here. This is a very classic analog e-brake handle. You have this, I believe this is for a coin holder, hold your nickels, quarters, and pennies. Unfortunately here in 2026, pennies are no longer produced, but I'm sure you can fit more dimes and nickels in there in that penny slot. To the right, the passenger does have a passenger side airbag, their own AC and heat outlets, and then of course you have a lockable glove compartment with a lock there, and a storage compartment for additional storage, and to also lock up your valuables. Up top, you have a classic 1990s rear view mirror. And then on top of that, you do have your interior dome lights. Driver and passenger both have a reading light plus an interior dome light. Right above that, you have a little switch here. And this little switch essentially powers your standard powered sunroof. The sunroof is lined with this soft cloth top. and you can go ahead and open it up here as such, and just allows bright air and sunlight and air into the cabin of your E36 M3. It looks great, feels great, and then whenever it gets too cold or too bright, you can go ahead and click that there and it'll close right up as such. Both driver and passenger have these nicely Napa black leather wrapped windshield visors with vanity mirrors and integrated light. Let's see what life is like for your rear seat passengers in your 1997 E36 M3. In order to access the rear seats, both driver and passenger side seats do have an integrated knob or switch on the side here. Just give it a good flip and the whole front seat should flip forward. And here's the rear seat of your E36 M3. Let's hop on in and see what it's like. And here we are. I'm gonna go ahead and put the front seat back as such. And not too bad. So the rear seats are wrapped in that black Napa leather. And just like the front seats, they do have the integrated M3 essentially accent integrated into the rear seats. The rear seats also feature a front storage cargo net area for driver and passenger. And the rear seats do feature a essentially a center seat here. So the rear seats, you're able to seat essentially 3 people in the back, although I feel like the middle seat is probably a little small, but again, in a pinch. Another interesting design feature of the rear seats is that the essentially the seat belts, they come out from the center of the rear seats and click in on the opposite side. As such. Again, a little opposite of most cars nowadays, but again, very interesting feature. The rear seats are pretty roomy. I'm about 5'7", 5'8" of average weight and height. And I can say that legroom, definitely plenty of legroom. I have the front passenger seat pretty much almost all the way back, and I still have a little bit of maybe 2 or 3 inches of knee room. My only complaint is the roof is a little short, so my head is essentially touching the top of this headliner. But again, that's understandable for a car of this size. The back armrest is wrapped in that black Napa leather with black cross stitch. And lastly, the very unique feature that you saw on the exterior view is that there is a little knob here, and if your rear seat passengers get too stuffy, you can click that there, and essentially the whole window opens, allowing a little bit of ventilation to the rear window. It's very, very cool, very, very unique feature. And we're done getting air, you can go ahead and click that back and close up that rear window. And here is the rear seats of your E36 M3. All right, welcome everyone to this point of view test drive of this 1997 BMW E36 M3 Coupe. And in classic 1990s fashion, you have an analog key. You go ahead and stick that in ignition. brake clutch down, and you go ahead and start up that inline-6 M motor. There we go, headlights on. So as mentioned, this E36 M3 comes with a manual or automatic transmission. Fortunately today we have the 5-speed manual transmission on board. And let's see how the 1990s M's performs here in the year 2026. So usually on any gas and gavel test drive of any car, my favorite thing to do is put the car into some sort of race mode or track mode. In this E36 M3, there's only one driving mode, and it's what you get, and it's essentially, in my opinion, all you really need. It's essentially the M drive mode, and I love how the 1990s BMW M cars just really kept things simple. One drive mode, one suspension, just everything analog, everything is just very simple. So let's start off with acceleration. So by 2026 standards, 240 horsepower and 200-ish foot-pounds of torque doesn't seem like a lot. And in the days and age where right now Toyota Camrys, Toyota Corollas, Nissan Sentras are pushing 250, 300 horsepower, the E36 M3 definitely is no horsepower queen, but what it is essentially a usable, balanced power. And not only that, the power is very linear, and although the car does not have a high horsepower count, it does have a great torque curve, and 0-60 times are between 5.5 to 6 seconds. But I can tell you right now, with the gobs of torque and the manual transmission, shifting through gears, again, it's just very, very fun and very exciting. You could definitely feel every time, no matter what gear you're in, like right now, I'm putting my foot on the gas. Thank you, perfect, lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You could definitely feel yourself being pushed back in the seat. As such, no matter if you're first, second, or third gear, the sweet spot in this car is essentially 3,000 RPM and up, all the way to red line. The car feels, again, very torquey, very powerful, and is definitely fast enough to get your heart beating. You're not going to win any drag races, but again, this car isn't about pure horsepower, it's about the total package. And I rate the acceleration, although not the fastest, not the highest horsepower count, and not the most impressive, but again, because of the way that the torque curve and the horsepower curve is set up and naturally aspirated motor, it's just really, really fun to drive, and it definitely feels much faster than 0-60 in 5.5 to 6 seconds. So I give the acceleration in this car of the E36 M3 a solid 7.5 out of 10. Let's talk clutch. The last time I drove a manual transmission on the Gas and Gavel YouTube channel, it's been about almost 2 to 3 months, and the beauty of this manual transmission, especially a clutch, is that it's very, very easy to use. Although it doesn't have any electronic assist on the clutch or anything else, it's just very the clutch is just very, very how do I say, it's very forgiving, and again, it's just very, very easy to use. It's very easy to shift from neutral to first gear to second gear. The clutch feels great. You step down on it, it feels firm but not too harsh. And again, it's just this is probably one of the easiest driving manuals I've driven. The last easiest to drive manual that I've driven was the Acura Integra Type S. And that is just a very, very new car with a lot of new technology. It has a lot of like driver assist, for the manual transmission. This car doesn't have it, but again, it allows you to drive this manual transmission as if it had those electronic assists, which it doesn't. So it's very impressive. The clutch on this car, I rate a 9 out of 10. Now let's talk the actual shifting of it. Let's pull over here and wait for this to clear out. So interior noise, or sound, let's talk sound. This car doesn't have a some sort of variable exhaust or anything like that. You can hardly even hear the exhaust. The car is actually pretty quiet and docile on the inside. And that's exactly what the E36 M3 is supposed to be. It doesn't have that raspiness of the E46 M3 exhaust. It doesn't have the rawness of that E30 M3 exhaust. Again, it's supposed to be just very, again, subtle and just, again, tame. And I would prefer the exhaust to be a little bit quieter. I'm sure the aftermarket has plenty of E36 M3 exhaust options, but from the factory, the exhaust is pretty quiet. So if you like sound or roar of exhaust, you're probably gonna rate it a 5 out of 10. But if you like just natural, just normal exhaust sounds for a well-balanced car, you'll probably give us a 9 out of 10. Now let's talk the other interior sound. I think one of the complaints or the cons about these E36 models is there is a some sort of fragileness with the interior, especially just the build of it. There are a lot of creaks, groans, and rattles in the car. Although in this particular tester model with over 100,000 miles, the interior looks great, but driving, especially when you drive it aggressively, you can definitely hear a lot of the panels creaking and groaning and cracking. And the interior is a little loud for a, again, luxury car. So you definitely do hear a lot of road noise despite having these 17-inch wheels. So again, sound, it is a little loud, and I'll probably rate it a 6 out of 10. Let's talk rear view. What I love about this vehicle is number one, you have these really cool M3 style side mirrors with those dual pedestals, and I feel like the M3 mirrors extend pretty far outwards, and you're able to see both your blind spots on the left and right. You also get to see essentially those dual pedestals, M3 mirrors. Every time you look to your left and right, it definitely looks pretty cool. Another great thing I love about this car is that I'm gonna go ahead and pull over on the next turnout and show you what the rear looks like. I really love how, despite this being a two-door coupe, they have wide front windows, wide rear passenger window, and just a really wide open rear window. And I'm gonna pull over here and show you what that looks like. So imagine you're driving along and essentially you need to merge lanes. As you can see, as I turn, you just have like this big open window despite being a two-door coupe. I love how the pillar here is it's thin, but it's thick enough that looks good, but also doesn't disrupt the rear view. I love how the rear mounted M spoiler is not like some huge STI WRX rally wing. It doesn't obstruct the view. And again, it's just very easy to drive, not only safety wise, but it's just like as a just a driver's car, it's very just easy to see. So rear view, safety, turning lanes, merging to the left and right, I rate this car 10 out of 10 in that area. So let's talk shifting in this car. The clutch feels great, but the shifter, I would probably rate the shifter a 6 out of 10. It feels very clunky. I'm not sure if it's just because this particular example that I'm driving right now maybe has not been maintained. But shifting into different gears, it just doesn't click in. You have to put a lot of force into it. So you definitely should work out your shifting arm. In the future, I would love to get into another example of the same model and see if it's a similar issue. Again, in this E36 M3, the first I've ever driven, again, shifting into gears, it just doesn't feel great. There's a lot of effort involved, and you really have to use a lot of effort to push your car from first to neutral to reverse and so on and so forth. I wish it was just a little smoother or just a little bit easier to shift into gears. So I rate the shifting or the feel of the manual transmission a probably 4.5 to a 5 out of 10. Let's talk suspension. So this car has the M-tuned suspension. There's no adjustability. What you see is what you get. But I can tell you right now that the suspension, it feels great. It feels amazing. There is almost, I want to say almost a zero body lean. I can say that, is there body lean? Yes. Is it very noticeable? No. Can you really feel it for like half a second when you're taking hard turns? Yes. But after you get past that little bit of body lean, the car just feels very, very solid. The suspension is firm but forgiving. For example, I can take these curves here very aggressively, but if I were to hit a bad patch of a road, I'm not breaking my back. Again, it's a nice balance, and I feel like that's the reason why there's a little bit of body lean. BMW put a little bit of again, a little bit of forgiveness inside the M-tuned suspension, which makes sense because again, this car is essentially made primarily. It's not supposed to be a competition homologation race car. It's again essentially more like a again, a comfortable grand touring sports car that you can drive daily, and that's exactly what the suspension reflects. But again, it is very enjoyable to drive through these canyons, and they did a really good job. I rate the suspension a solid 7.5 out of 10. If they added a front strut bar or just tuned up the suspension just a little tiny, like 5% stiffer, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. But again, suspension, very, very enjoyable for a car that was made in 1997, being driven here on the roads of 2026. Let's talk brakes. For example, right now I have to slow down. I believe there was some sort of movie filming here where I'm filming here in Los Angeles on Angeles Crest Highway earlier, and the brakes on this car really helped me, allow me to again slow down this car. The brakes feel firm and confident. Again, this car just feels balanced. It's not the most highest horsepower. It doesn't have the biggest brakes. I believe the front calipers are only like a single sliding caliper. They're not fancy Brembos or anything else, but they just feel great for what they are. And again, they're not the most aggressive brake setting, but also they are not the worst. The brakes, I give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. The first pro of the E36 BMW M3 is most definitely, it is a, here in 2026 and even back then in 1997, it is one of the most pure, true enthusiast performance cars and driving experiences that you can have. There's something pure 1990s analog about it that just makes it a pure joy to drive despite it being underpowered and lacking a lot of the modern day technologies, from hybrid motor assist to fancy manual transmission clutch assist. In a day and age where horsepower numbers are a bragging right, in fact, next week on the Gas and Gavel YouTube channel, we'll be test driving a 2025 BMW M8 competition, and that M8 competition pushes out almost 700-800 horsepower from a essentially a very, very heavy coupe. So compare it to this 1997 E36 M3 with its inline six 240 horsepower. Again, the E36 M3 was underpowered in 1997 and is most definitely underpowered in 2026. But despite all these facts, it may not win any drag races, but I guarantee you that the driving experience will essentially set the pinnacle and the bar for any other future enthusiast car that you may purchase in the future, whether it's another BMW, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, an SUV. Again, there's something very pure, balanced about the E36 M3 that just does everything right without any electronic assist, without any sort of fancy technologies. Everything is just, again, just very pure, very analog, and it's just, again, one of the most pure driving experiences that you can get right now in 2026 for, again, under 20,000 if you do your research and search well enough. The second biggest con of the 1997 E36 M3 comes down to horsepower numbers. Now, horsepower isn't everything, but if you are the type of person who is all about the horsepower, the E36 M3 is definitely not for you. The E36 M3, especially the North American version, is probably the most underpowered of all M models. It makes 240 horsepower. It was underpowered in 1997 and is most definitely underpowered here in 2026. Again, there are probably Toyota Camrys, Toyota Corollas, Nissan Altimas that are manufactured in 2026 that make more horsepower and is probably a lot faster than the E36 M3. So again, the biggest con is that if you do love horsepower and you are a horsepower junkie and you're all about those 600, 700, 800 horsepower modern day I guess horsepower king queens, the E36 M3 is definitely not for you. Again, second biggest con of the E36 M3 is most definitely it is underpowered with its 240 horsepower in 1997 here in 2026. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of this 1997 BMW E36 M3 Coupe. If you guys enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe to the Gas and Gavel YouTube channel. We truly do appreciate your support. And tune in next week for more performance, enthusiast, exotic, and possibly M reviews.